part of deal with Saudi Arabia, Iran announces to stop supporting the Houthis with weapons. The United Nations says offloading oil from safer tanker could end by June, but only if needed funding arrives. The Houthi militia continues to destroy houses of citizens in Ma'rib Governorate. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Roshan Fuad. According to the Wall Street Journal, Iran has agreed to cease arms supplies to Houthis insurgents in Yemen as part of the recent Chinese-brokered reconciliation with Saudi Arabia. However, Tehran has long denied among the Houthi movement. The following report has more details.
According to a Wall Street Journal report released on Thursday, Iran has agreed to cease arming Houthi rebels in Yemen as part of a recent Chinese-brokered rapprochement with Saudi Arabia. The 2014 capture of the capital Sana'a by Iranian-backed Houthi rebels prompted a 2015 intervention by neighboring Saudi Arabia, which leads a military coalition supporting Yemeni government troops. Since then, the war has taken hundreds of thousands of lives, both directly and indirectly, and displaced millions. A truce that has been in effect since April 2022 and had been extended twice expired in October without the Yemeni government and the Houthis agreeing to renew it. Nonetheless, the situation on the ground has been reasonably peaceful for about a year. According to the Wall Street Journal, Iran's suspension of arms supplies to the Houthis might put pressure on the group to reach an agreement and end the conflict. For years, the Houthis have fired missiles at Saudi Arabia. In January of last year, the capital of the United Arab Emirates, Abu Dhabi, was also attacked by a drone and missile strike. Iran has previously denied providing arms to the extremist organization. After 8 years of violence, the unexpected rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and Iran could provide impetus towards peace by the warring parties in Yemen, according to United Nations officials. The United Nations Security Council on Wednesday discussed the impact on Yemen of the shock Chinese-led announcement on March 10, that diplomatic relations between Sunni Saudi and Shia Iranian rivals would be restored within 2 months. Hans Grunberg, the UN Secretary General Special Envoy for Yemen, encouraged conflict parties to seize the opportunity of the Gulf diplomatic breakthrough. According to the State Department, the Swedish envoy was in Tehran this week, while his American counterpart, Timothy Lunder-King, was in Riyadh and Oman on Tuesday. Observers cautioned that the Iranian-Saudi peace treaty would not offer a magical solution to Yemen, where the two regional powers' influence on the players is only one component of the conflict.
UN could remove oil from stricken Yemeni tanker by June, but only if more funding arrives. The safer is in danger of breaking apart or exploding, and the UN mentioned that the oil spill that would result would devastate local fishing communities. This report has more details.
United Nations officials say the operation to remove some 1 million barrels of crude oil from Safar, which is a stricken tanker abandoned off the coast of Yemen, could be concluded by mid-June, but only if $34 million funding gap for the operation is first closed. The United Development Programme announced that it had secured the purchase of a very large crude carrier from Belgian shipping company Euronav. The vessel is currently in a dry dock in China, where it is undergoing maintenance and modifications, but it should be ready to sail next month, arriving in Yemen waters in early May. Marine salvage company SMIT has been brought in to remove the oil and prepare the sulfur from towing to a green salvage yard. The scrap value of the vessel could be around $20 million. The United Nations has paid $55 million to buy the 15-year-old replacement vessel, which has capacity of 2.1 million barrels. That is substantially more than the United Nations has originally budgeted. The United Nations has secured pledges of $95 million for the operation to date, including more than $12 million from the private sector and over $200,000 from a crowdfunding campaign. Of that, it has received $74.5 million in cash so far. The United Nations is relaunching a crowdfunding appeal which ran in 2021, but more will be needed from other sources. The United Nations said it is considering the possibility of redirecting existing United Nations funds, and it will also see if more may be forthcoming from oil and gas companies. The International Association of Oil and Gas Producers has already provided some funds. The progress made to date on the situation is also a diplomatic success, given the need to ensure the cooperation of both the internationally recognized government in Aden and the Houthis in Sana'a. And according to the sources, the will is there on all sides. The operation cannot come too soon. Safar is in danger of breaking apart or exploding. The United Nations has said that the oil spill that would result would devastate local fishing communities, wiping out 200,000 livelihoods and exposing millions of people to highly polluted air. It would also likely result in the closure of the ports of Hodeidah and As-Salif, which are essential to bring food, fuel, and other goods into Yemen, where some 17 million people rely on food assistance. In addition, detoxification plants would be forced to close, cutting off a water source for millions of people. Oil from Safar could affect any country that borders the Red Sea. The environmental impact on coral reefs, mangroves, and other marine life would be severe. Fish stocks would take 25 years to recover. According to the United Nations, the cost of the cleanup operation that would be needed in the event of a spill has been estimated at $20 billion. In addition, disruptions of shipping through Bab el-Mandeb Strait to Suez Canal could cost billions more in global trade losses every day.
Military units announced that they have thwarted attacks by the Houthi militia in Ma'rib. The media center of the Sheba Axis said that the Houthi militia launched several attacks on sites west of Harib, where the heroes of the Sheba Axis are stationed. They explained the attack was broken at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and successive convoys of the enemy were crushed and inflicted losses in personnel and combat equipment. The Houthi militia suffered losses in lives and equipment after thwarting an infiltration attempt in Taiz. Military sources stated that the government forces, backed by the popular resistance, thwarted an infiltration attempt by the Houthi militia towards El Safra neighborhood, and the Houthi militia suffered losses in lives and equipment. The Iranian-backed Houthi militia seized the sports complex in the capital Sana'a. Local sources said that the armed Houthi forces attacked the Nahda sports complex, dismissed its administration, hired a judicial guard to oversee it, and confiscated all of its savings. The Houthi militia caused the destruction of many citizens' homes in Ma'rib Governorate. Some of these houses were turned into military barracks, with dozens of mines planted in the villages and farms of the citizens. The camera of Yemen Today channel visited these areas and prepared the following report.
These houses were transformed from homes that were teeming with the laughter of children and manifestations of rural life to villages inhabited by ghosts, after the Houthi militia abandoned its inhabitants 3 years ago. These scenes reveal the true crime that affected the homes of civilians here in the Ragwan district west of Ma'rib. Semi-destroyed houses and others that the militia turned into military barracks and tampered with their contents.
As you can see, the Houthi militia has destroyed the district of Raghwan with landmines, which led to the displacement of its sons, as homes here are not suitable for living.
Residents of the nearby residential communities couldn't return to their homes. Despite their liberation from the hands of the Houthis, mines are still an obstacle that terrifies civilians from approaching their villages, and more than 100 semi-destroyed houses inside these villages are no longer usable. Its inhabitants have become enduring the bitterness and harshness of life in the deserts. They travel long distances to fetch water, food, and their basic requirements. Nevertheless, they prefer to live here rather than losing their relatives with the mines planted around their homes and farms.
بالنسبة من جدية مدغل مجزر رحبة
All families of this area have been displaced, as their homes were turned to military barracks by the Houthi militia. Hundreds of families cannot return back to their homes due to Houthi destruction.
The militia war didn't only leave the burden of displacement on civilians, but also turned their homes and villages into ghost towns. Amid war and destruction, the lives of many civilians remain spoiled by fear of what their condition will lead to and where they will head at a time when the war has stripped their homes.
The director of the National Program for Mine Action warned of a new spread of mines in areas that have been cleared. He said that the program has received reports from citizens stating that mine explosions have occurred and that individual mines were washed away by torrents. He added that other reports from Ma'rib and Shabwa confirmed the presence of mines that were swept away by torrential rains.
اسمي أحمد سيف مهيوب من قبل حبشي. لغم يعني كنت رايح أزور الأهل والنساء وما يعني رحت ما لقيت على اللغم، دعست على اللغم وانفجر، ما شفت إلا الغبار يعني والدم والأرجلية خلاص مبترات. هذا أثر علي كثير جدا يعني بأنه خذ يعني كل خلاص أنت مبتر الأيدي ولا الرجل يعني صعبة يعني إنك عتعين وأسرة يعني صعب يعني الوضع مزري وصعب. كله شغلي حديد نجارة بناء كان صعب يعني واختلف الحين الوضع يعني صعب انك عتقدر تشتغل هذه الشغلات. هذه جريمة إنسانية يعني ما لأن ما يعني لو هي صعبة يعني تشل الأخضر واليابس، لا تشل عسكري لحاله ولا مقاومة ولا شيء، تشل للطارف. أصلا أي إنسان يجزع كل يعني جريمة إنسانية يعني بمعنى الكلمة.
Coming next. Students from 43 countries participate in Culture Day, organized by Mansoura University.
كان يعالجون ونقدر عليه 6 أيام.
So they're giving you nutrition for him?
قالوا لي سلمي له ما عنده ديله تاتو بطاك الأسبوع يقول 15 ودحين تركه مدري يهبون له مدري لا يا صعب علينا بعض الحين بنحصلوا له حتى 10 ريال والله معانا قال له حقه من نشتري.
And what's the problem with his hands? What happened?
ياكلها بس نالو لما يسيل دم.
Oh my gosh, it's red raw. Why is he eating his fingers?
ياكلها بنفسه كذا يمسكها وياكلها لما يسيل دم. بعض الحين مراها لقدي يسيل دم من هنا من سنانه حتى ينكع مضلعه. ما أحس الحين معه ولا قال لهم هاسوا. الحين ما راهن جاع الحين ما بهن.
Welcome back. Students celebrate People Days in Mansoura University in Egypt. This report has more details.
In Egypt, Mansoura University hosted an International Students' People's Day celebration. Under the slogan, Mansoura University gathers the peoples of the globe. Cultural attaches and consuls from 46 Arab, African, and Asian countries took part in the event for university undergraduate and graduate students.
طبعا جامعة المنصورة يعني بتحتفل النهارده بيوم الشعوب.
Mansoura University celebrates People's Day with Arab and Asian communities. The event is attended by representatives from embassies. Today, countries celebrate their culture and heritage. This event helped create an Arab Union and I hope Yemen a better future.
There were many activities and performances of people's heritage presented by the students. They also contributed by displaying foods and traditional customs that represent their countries. Egyptian students handmade the artifacts featured in their section, including this pyramid. Meanwhile, Malaysian students prepared all the food and posters in their tent.
So I was also in charge of decorating the booth and also helping bring stuff in and also talk to people. So yeah, so that's mostly it for today.
Moving to the Yemeni participation, which featured Yemeni coffee, Yemeni foods such as mutabbak, and traditional customs. Men wore a dagger around their waist, which is known as a jambiya, while women wore a thawb, which is a dress covered in silver jewelry.
دولة اليمن دائما مشاركة في كل الفعاليات التي تقيمها الجامعات المصرية.
Yemen always participates in events organized by Egyptian universities. This isn't the first contribution for Yemeni. I think it is the third or fourth. This Yemeni tent has pictures from the Yemeni culture, food, and customs.
My outfit today is a mix of Tazi and Sanani custom dress. Here we have traditional customs, and this is a fabric called maswan from Sana'a.
Students from all around the world had a wonderful opportunity to celebrate their cultural heritage on People's Day. They established a form of a connection, giving appreciation to the cultural diversity of the world's countries and people.
Mansoura University in Egypt celebrates People's Day with the aim of gathering many cultures and different countries from around the world. Shaza Abdelbei, Yemen Today TV.
Officials of fish associations in El Khawkhad announced the decision of the Minister of Agriculture to prevent the export of fish outside Yemen. The fishermen confirmed that stopping the export opened a way for foreign commercial ships to buy from fishermen in Yemeni territorial waters, taking advantage of this decision, which will destroy the local market and the national economy. The third batch of the Saudi oil derivatives grant paid from Aden arrived in Hadramaut Governorate with quantities amounting to 5,500 tons of diesel and 13,000 tons of fuel oil. The Saudi oil derivatives raised the average daily service hours to operate the power stations and ensure the activation of the self-operation of the power stations therein. In Beirut, the Arab Forum for Sustainable Development was concluded under the chairmanship of Yemen. The forum produced a set of messages that will be submitted to the high-level political forum, scheduled to be held next July in New York. In the closing speech, the Yemeni minister praised the experiences that were presented at the forum that would contribute to finding solutions to some of the problems facing the Arab region. The activities of the Water and Environment Week were concluded in the interim capital, Aden. The Minister of Water and Environment praised the active role played by all concerned parties in contributing to the revival of the Water and Environment Week. He stressed the importance of the issues that were discussed in the seminars and workshops held during the week. Here is a reminder of the main headlines. As part of deal with Saudi Arabia, Iran announces to stop supporting the Houthis with weapons. The United Nations says offloading oil from safer tanker could end by June, but only if needed funding arrives. The Houthi militia continues to destroy houses of citizens in Maghreb Governorate. This is the end of the news. It was Rushan Fuad. Thank you for watching.